Today, on Callout, Pemberton and Whistler search and rescue race against time to find a lost snowmobiler.
For every day that passes, the likelihood of a positive outcome goes down by about 50%.
And later, surviving an avalanche.
I was struck by this avalanche like a semi-truck on the highway. It's just like being in a raging river.
Sunday, 6:45 a.m. Pemberton search and rescue volunteers are busy prepping gear and loading snowmobiles for what promises to be a very challenging mission. The night before, a call came in reporting a missing snowmobiler. 33-year-old Carl Mulheron had become separated from his friends Saturday afternoon and was last seen on the Pemberton ice cap in an area called Top of the World.
So go ahead with that test number, please. The weather that night was absolutely horrible. It was snowing, it was blowing, it was cold. It wasn't a night to go and try and search the ice cap, and it was no night for a guy to be out by himself. Yeah, hi, Kevin. It's
Dave contacts his team for an early start the next morning. Then, he goes over the search plan with the local RCMP who took the initial call.
The first area that we really needed to get into is the area where he separated from his friends, and then the second area was actually an area below that on the glacier.
A search team, loaded with gear, boards a helicopter brought in from nearby Whistler. They're going in to assess snow conditions on the ice cap, and with any luck, spot the missing subject.
It is the literal needle in a white haystack. It is massive. It's mile upon mile of just endless ice fields. And you're looking for somebody that, if you're lucky, is sitting on top of the snow or possibly fallen into a crevasse.
Crevasse, easily seen from the air, can be invisible at ground level, with just a thin snow bridge separating the rider from an icy plunge hundreds of meters down. The snowmobile team heads out from the Pemberton SAR base. Weather and snow conditions permitting, they'll travel the same route as the missing subject.
They couldn't see 5 feet in front of them, and you can't ride a skidoo on a glacier if you can't see more than 5 feet.
The helicopters are not having much luck either.
2 of the highest probability areas were in this band of fog. We could get to it, we could access it, and have a good look around it.
But they could not actually see the ground below.
Well, we can't really sneak down too much farther there.
Stalled by weather at the edge of the ice cap, the search focuses on the 3 drainages below.
We attempted, and in some cases were successful in inserting search teams in the lower drainages that came out of that area that he could conceivably have made his way to.
By now, Carl had been stranded on the mountain for almost 30 hours. His chances of survival had diminished significantly.
For every day that passes, the likelihood of a positive outcome goes down by about 50%. We kept waiting and hoping that we'd get a window that would allow us to get up there and actually take a look. That, unfortunately, didn't happen that day.
It is now Monday morning. Nearby Whistler Search and Rescue has been called in for mutual aid on this mission.
We're just here at the heliport here in Whistler. We've got an RCMP chopper that's come to give us a ride.
Each member is equipped with a 24-hour pack that contains everything needed to survive for at least 1 day on the glacier, should the helicopter be unable to pick them up due to bad weather.
From John in Air 5.
There are now 2 helicopters, as well as several snowmobile and ground teams looking for the missing subject. Back at Pemberton Base, Brad Sills of Whistler Search and Rescue has now arrived and will be sharing search manager duties with Dave Steers.
By the time you get into the 3rd operational phase on a search, people start getting tired, and it's always good to bring some new resources in. They see things different, and that's why we like to move search management around.
The SAR managers pore over the maps, the dark blue outlining the huge mass of ice and snow. They can't wait for the weather any longer and decide to insert highly skilled alpine skiers right on the glacier to carefully search the fogged-in, high-probability areas.
Our ground teams managed to get access up onto the glacier, but they couldn't really initially travel into the search area all that easily, again, because of weather.
The news only gets worse.
Tackle around the other way.
Yet again, a helicopter is turned around because of weather. However, almost immediately, some other news comes in.
I got a call from Russell, who was in the other helicopter, saying that he'd located the fellow. That was a really nice moment.
The weather had finally cleared enough that we could actually get in, and there was our Mr. Mulheron standing beside his snowmobile, waving both arms, quite happy to see us.
The rescued subject is brought back to base. Carl is in surprisingly good shape after enduring more than 2 days of snowstorms on a glacier.
I got separated and then I was trying to backtrack, and I think I ended up going in the wrong direction, right?
For Carl, what had begun as an afternoon on the mountain became the challenge of a lifetime.
You can see, like, even being on the ground, I couldn't see the crevices on either side of me.
Yeah, no, you made it good.
Our idea was to go to Pemberton Ice Field for a nice, easy afternoon. It was coming around after 5 when we said, let's start making our way back to the truck. Weather was starting to sock in, so it was starting to get real soupy.
They lost track of each other in the fog and snow. While Carl drove around looking for his friends made it out, expecting to see him at the trucks. He wasn't there, and they reported him missing. By then, Carl's daylight was running out. Driving up and down, trying to find your way out, gets more disheartening with every moments that go by, because I'm trying to wash my fuel. I'm trying to make sure that I'm not going to hurt myself when I fall into a crevice. And then I have the weather and the night fighting against me. Carl has also realized that his Avalanche beacon and GPS are sitting in his truck. Obviously, I would have loved to have them. Carl makes 2 smart decisions that likely saved his life. One, he decided he was lost. It starts to turn your gut a little, be like, wow, I'm lost. It's also kind of the hardest decision to make, to say you're lost when you have a snowmobile that can take you 5-10 kilometers in 15 minutes and 20 or 30 liters of fuel left. So I knew I had enough fuel to get out if I was going in the right direction. If I was going in the wrong direction, I could have ended up getting stuck somewhere more drastically dangerous than where I stopped. The second smart thing Carl did was to prepare a shelter before it got dark and stay put. I knew how to make a snow cave from winter camping and experiences with scouts. It was the next days that I was worried me more than the one night. But what I tried to do was focus on things that could help me to survive this. And panic is probably one of the worst things you could do when you're lost and in a situation where it's really do or die. Carl settles in for a long, cold night. I knew I should just try to go to sleep. I used the side panel of my snowmobile as a roof and squatted in a hole all night. I said a few Hail Marys. The next day, the situation with the weather was only worse. When I woke up, I knew that I was going to be spending the day and probably that night on the mountain again, just because of the visibility factor. I could hear helicopters coming by my area on and off. So it gave me hope that there was somebody actually looking for me. Carl's sled could no longer start. He's been using the heat from his snowmobile engine and hand grips to help keep warm during the day. Kind of almost be sitting on the motor just to try to get the heat off it. Come nightfall, the weather got colder. Sunday night, it got really cold. It was going to be a lot rougher than Saturday night. And my feet were wet at this point. Carl rips the sleeves off his sweatshirt to use them as socks to ward off frostbite on his feet. I'm sure it was like midnight and 2 o'clock in the morning. I had to climb out of the cave and get out and walk around and try to stay warm that way. The night had been so clear and cold that kind of gave me hope that Monday morning it would have been clear and blue skies. But it wasn't. It was really socked in again. That's when my spirits were a little bit low. He still had a sandwich, some granola bars, and water, which he rationed out carefully. Mid-morning or late morning, the sun broke
So I got a chance to like air out my socks, my boots, my gloves, try to get everything as dry as possible.
Carl is back in his snow cave trying to get some rest when he hears the sweetest sound.
I could hear the helicopter coming, and then I realized it was actually blue skies.
The rescue team sees Carl and goes to land. At the same time, Carl's friends who are also in the area spot the helicopter landing and race over.
So within a matter of like 4 or 5 minutes, I went from being totally alone to having like 8 guys standing around me.
Lucky for Carl and his family and friends, this time it's a happy ending. Rest assured, Carl won't leave his GPS and avalanche beacon behind again, and he's very grateful to Search and Rescue.
It makes you feel good that Search and Rescue is out there volunteering their time, and it's something that you can never, let go, and it's something you always be thankful for.
Now, surviving an avalanche.
It's just like being in a raging river. You get sucked underneath, and there's nothing you can do but just give in to the powers of this force.
December 7th, 1999. A group of friends set off to ski Mount McDonald in the Rogers Pass area of British Columbia. It's a skier's paradise, a gorgeous backcountry setting with some of the driest, most abundant powder in the world. It's also largely untouched by man. If you want to ski it, you have to climb it first. Carefully.
We had all our equipment. We had all the experience. We checked in with the wardens, we checked in with professionals, and we got the green light, the go-ahead to ski the certain area. We were all experienced backcountry travelers. This wasn't a rookie crew heading out that morning.
The skiers trek up the mountain, equipment on their backs and their eyes on the snow.
It's a brutal climb. Every step you have to work for. Snow quality constantly changes as you're hiking up the mountain, and it's something that you have to pay close attention to.
Suddenly, there's a muffled crack. Before they can get out of the way, the group is swept up in an enormous avalanche.
I was struck by this avalanche like a semi-truck on the highway. It hit me so hard that it winded me. It's just like being in a raging river. You get sucked underneath, and there's nothing you can do but just give in to the powers of this force.
The avalanche was 1,000 meters wide, over 9 football fields across.
I couldn't breathe the whole time. I was choking and choking and choking, and the sounds that I was hearing were just like thunder constantly in my ears. So the avalanche started to slow down, and the snow started thickening up like cement. And there I was with my head sticking out, and I was looking right back at the mountain.
When it comes to avalanches, you can do all the right things and still run into trouble.
Really strong plume coming out of the Western Pacific.
Forecasting avalanches is a tricky business. At the Canadian Avalanche Centre in Revelstoke, British Columbia, avalanche forecasters gather and analyze data from all over BC.
We look at what conditions were yesterday. We update with what happened last night, and then we start looking into the future. Just a little flurry overnight. A lot of what we do is try and manage uncertainty. I guarantee it.
They assemble weather information as well as snowpack reports, which are collected from people who go into these dangerous areas to test the conditions.
Our data comes from the heli ski companies, the snowcat ski companies, the ski area, the people who are responsible for keeping the highways safe. Those are the people who are out in the field collecting the data.
People like avalanche technician Scott Aitken.
I'm a snow avalanche technician for the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure, and I forecast avalanches and do avalanche control for sites that affect the highway, in this case Highway 99 through the Duffy Lake area.
Scott's area, Duffy Lake, is in between Whistler Mountain and Lillooet off of Highway 99. The area, with its 45-degree inclines and plenty of precipitation, is a hotbed of avalanche activity. There are regular patrols like Scott's in all avalanche-prone areas of BC, where slides threaten to block highways and create a danger to the traveling public or to those who use the area for backcountry adventure. This is a typical day for Scott and his colleague Erica Flavel. They unload snowmobiles at the edge of the highway in preparation for their trip up the mountain to test avalanche conditions. On the other side of the lake from where they're unloading, evidence of avalanche is everywhere. They travel the snow-covered logging road switchbacks up the steep mountainside. Eventually, the trail is reduced to an intricate snowmobile path through trees and bush. Depending on the conditions, the weight, power, and even the noise of snowmobiles can trigger an avalanche. They'll only go as far as they safely can before switching to touring skis. As they traverse the slope, they keep a close eye on the changing snow conditions. At the avalanche test site, a pit is dug to reveal the layers in the snow. The shovel test assesses the stability of the snowpack. They compress the snow to identify weak layers, then analyze the snow at the breaking point. Avalanches occur when a weak layer gives way, allowing the snowpack to slide. If avalanche conditions exist and threaten roads, the technicians move from snowpack analysis to avalanche control. How do you control an avalanche? You set one off. It's a preemptive strike.
Our goal with avalanche control is to trigger small avalanches while the road's closed before conditions build up to a point where there's a large avalanche that can affect the highway.
Dropping explosives out of helicopters is a great way to target avalanche paths, but this can't be done at night or during snowstorms. An alternative method is required, especially for volatile mountains requiring immediate attention.
Up behind me is my nemesis, Path 51.0, or Duffy Lake number 2. Probably 25% historically of the avalanches that affect this highway come from this site.
Path 51.0 has remote sensors that notify Scott by phone of snowfall and wind conditions. It also has a Gazex, a steel tube that ignites an explosive mixture of propane and oxygen to set off a slide. Scott can activate it remotely from his laptop.
The freezing level is 500 meters above terrace?
Sounds reasonable to me.
Okay.
At the Canadian Avalanche Center, the data used to determine avalanche threat to highways is also used to help create avalanche bulletins for the general public.
We take that data, we evaluate it, we provide forecasts for the recreational public to help them make better decisions. We're trying to help them identify sort of what the level of hazard is, where the problem is, and what to do about it.
Even with all the information, forecasters can only assess conditions and calculate danger ratings. They can't always predict avalanches.
Forecasting avalanches is not a science, and even though our forecasters do a tremendous job, conditions can change within the hour, sometimes within the minute. It's still very much up to the individual to make good decisions once they're in their backcountry. We're all avid backcountry users. We love being in the mountains, and we absolutely always encourage people to use the backcountry, but it's so vital to be educated. You need to get trained with a course, you need to have the right equipment, and always check the bulletin. Mother Nature is impossible to predict with absolute certainty.
In the backcountry, Francois's group had made all the right decisions. They still got caught in a devastating avalanche.
I had my head above the snow in one hand, and slowly, as I dug myself out, I had my whole arm. And so once that was out, I could dig away at my body, and I was able to uncover the snow that was in front of me.
In an amazing stroke of luck, rescuers were already on scene.
There were 12 eager students that were doing an avalanche course at the base of the mountain that morning, that when the avalanche struck, they ran into the forest and hid from it, and then raced up and saved us all. My great friend, Scott Newsom, who was one of the rescuers, was looking right into my face, and he didn't recognize me at all. He didn't know who I was because my face was so chewed up and so destroyed.
The injured skiers were airlifted out. One of them, Shane Block, didn't survive.
Everybody in the group had serious injuries, and everybody was taken to the hospital.
Francois was lucky to be alive.
Here we are 10 years later, and my body is you know, healed pretty much. I'm still about 80% of what I used to be. And we're in the mountains every single day. It's our passion and it's our drive and it's what keeps us going. The mountains are so beautiful and they're so fun, and you go there for pleasure and passion. You forget that there's death and injury and pain and struggle that's involved with daily mountain life. And so it's important to see that aspect, to balance everything out.
Balance. The right balance of information, experience, equipment, and in some cases, luck. Callout Search and Rescue features real stories filmed live by search and rescue teams during actual missions. Today on Callout, Whistler Search and Rescue goes out of bounds to find a missing snowboarder.
It's like Fight Club, and there is a whole host of dangers that can take you down.
And later, trainees learning to become Canadian military search and rescue technicians, SAR techs, head for Resolute Bay in the high Arctic.
It's a shock to the system, so your body needs time to adapt to that rapid change of temperature.
Wednesday, 9 a.m. Whistler Search and Rescue receives a call for a missing snowboarder. Evan Malik, a 24-year-old up-and-coming musician and snowboarder with 16 years' experience, was living in Whistler only 2 weeks when he was reported missing by roommates after failing to return home the previous night.
He's got blue jacket, black pants, and an orange toque. We got a lost skier. We think he's down in the Fitzsimmons Creek. And we're just kind of starting to gather some information and write that up on our board here.
He's not known to go out of bounds.
He was last seen heading for Seventh Heaven, an area on the far left of Blackcomb Mountain that has some heavily treed and black diamond runs. Whistler Blackcomb Ski Patrol shut down the lift, clear skiers out, and search the area.
We don't like to do it, but we do it because if we have a concern that someone's down in a tree well, we would prefer to find them sooner rather than later.
Evan is not found within the slopes of the Seventh Heaven. He must be out of bounds in Blackcomb's huge backcountry area.
We suspected that the subject had entered an out-of-bounds area in Fitzsimmons Creek. This is an area that's well known to us to contain hazardous terrain.
The search area is located in the valley between Whistler and Blackcomb Mountains. There's a lot of ground to cover.
11 o'clock or so now. We just attended the heliport. We'll be flying out to Fitzsimmons Creek looking for Evan, our snowboarder.
Gavin Christie, along with 2 other Whistler SAR members, scanned the heavily treed mountainside for any sign of Evan. Just minutes into the flight, word comes over the radio.
All SAR radios, subject has been located. Stand down, repeat, stand down at this time.
Evan has been located, safe and sound, far from the search site.
So that pretty well concludes our mission. He was located at home. So our team is now standing down, and we'll just have to debrief how the communication went and who he was supposed to be checking in with.
Anytime a missing person is located alive and well, it's a successful mission for SAR. But in this case, much of the search could have been avoided.
So another one of our searchers went.
Evan is brought back to the SAR base for a debriefing.
Hi, Evan, pleased to meet you. Come on in.
We'll debrief a subject after a search, trying to define better what the lost person behavior is, what drove that person to decide to go out of bounds or otherwise engage in an activity that led them into this problem.
So it's important for us to understand what's going through your mind at the time. So when you got off the lift at the top of Seventh Heaven, What was your intent? What were
Yeah, well, I mean, it's early morning, the sun is shining, it's beautiful out. There's hardly anyone on the mountain, so you want to find the freshest area. And I saw the fresh tracks, you know, in the distance, and I traversed as far as I could go, and there were still people around at that point, so I still felt comfortable, but, you know, there were only 3 or 4 of them. This is the earliest tracks of the day. And I'm cruising around, carving beautiful, beautiful snow, and eventually I'm on my own.
This particular backcountry area has several opportunities to return to the inbound slopes.
You saw signs that you went outside the boundary? You knew?
No, I saw a sign that said exit while I was in the back, and I was in total control. I wasn't.
Oh, I'm not, without a doubt you were in control. What I'm saying is
there was a sign that said
no,
exit.
No exit?
No, it says exit. I decided to keep going because I figured I'd have another opportunity to rejoin the mainstream mountain.
The opportunity never came, and Evan was not prepared for the conditions that followed.
Millions of people come to enjoy Whistler Blackcomb, as they do many of British Columbia ski resorts. And while they're here, they enjoy the safety and comfort of a controlled recreation area, complete with ski patrols, avalanche forecasts. It's like a big comfy couch. However, when they choose to lift that line or otherwise ski out of the ski area boundary, it's like Fight Club. And there is a whole host of dangers that can take you down.
Once they get out there, if you keep going downhill, it doesn't necessarily bring you to a lift. It could bring you to another mountain range.
It was still early afternoon when Evan realized he was in a bad spot.
The terrain is getting more and more challenging. I'm getting less and less energy, not having eaten anything that day, not having brought anything to sustain me. I'm getting pretty scared at this point. And then I receive a text message. As my phone vibrates, I reach out to see what's written. As soon as I read the message, the phone dies in my hand. Battery's completely dead. I try to revive it, not possible. And I realize, not where I'm supposed to be.
Did you have any overnight gear or any backpack or any traveling touring gear? So we really don't look fondly upon that. We prefer that people who go into our backcountry have the skills and the tools to do it. We get a lot of people who think rescue gear is a lighter, you know, and a cell phone. And that simply just doesn't cut it anymore.
Evan hadn't intended to go so far off the beaten path. As he got further down, the conditions got even worse.
The trees just became too thick, and my board got jammed between 2 of them, and I had to take the board off and start hiking. I'm just trying to get down in one piece at this point.
The unfortunate consequence of taking your skis off is that you tend to become unsteady on your feet and can incur serious injury.
Evan makes his way down to a clearing and sees a landmark, the peak-to-peak gondola. He waves his board frantically, trying to make himself visible to the gondola riders. When this doesn't produce any results, he makes his way down even further, to the bank of Fitzsimmons Creek.
That area is very steep. You can get wet. You get wet in the mountains without any gear, you're basically done.
In the debriefing, Evan learns how lucky he is to have gone through this area and survived.
We pulled a girl out 2 years ago. She had done exactly the same thing as you. Exactly the same. Unfortunately, she succumbed, and we found her deceased right down in here, okay, in the creek bed.
With dusk fast approaching and no supplies, Evan makes camp for the night.
I didn't want my mother the next morning to receive a phone call saying that her son had been found frozen in the ground.
As night falls, Evan is at the mercy of the weather and the wildlife. He spends a long, cold night in his soaking wet clothes.
And when I woke up in the morning and I could move my toes and I could move my legs and I wasn't frozen, I just decided to walk. And I come out to this clearing where there's a snowmobile track.
The snowmobile track leads him out of the woods. At 9:30 Thursday morning, Evan finds his way to the village and stops for something to eat. At this point, the ski patrol has already begun searching for him on Blackcomb.
I should have touched base as soon as I got down, but it's kind of like a traumatic experience where you're just like, I didn't eat breakfast yesterday.
He returns home at 11 o'clock and contacts Whistler SAR, who are now combing the backcountry by ground and air.
I didn't know what they had expended in terms of time, money, and energy in order to try and find me.
At the debriefing, Brad aims to transform Evan's negative experience into a positive message to others.
For that, reason that we do get mad is if you have to pull somebody that's to come out of a creek while they were having fun, you tend to see things a little bit different.
Yeah.
Not coming down on
No, I know.
What you become now for us is a disciple. Okay, and you go out and you preach the word.
No, I want to be that for you. It's a pleasure to be alive.
Evan is one of the lucky ones, back doing what he loves and eager to share his story.
Over a week ago, I almost died on Blackcomb Mountain spending the night. So now I'm here to tell my story to make sure that people don't make the same mistakes that I have and that people can learn from what I experienced. We are fixing this creek.
Now, Canadian SAR-Tech trainees head for the Arctic.
I think a good phrase would be slow is fast in the Arctic. Working slow is definitely fast.
If someone needs rescue in Canada's vast wilderness, there's one group that will answer the call anywhere, anytime, and in nearly all weather conditions. The Canadian Forces Search and Rescue Technicians, SAR-Techs. Their motto, that others may live, and they've saved thousands of lives. Each year, 30 candidates compete for 16 spots in the 11-month SAR-Tech course. This year, only 13 candidates made the grade to take the course, and they're 5 months into it. Right now, they're leaving the relatively balmy 9 degrees of CFB Comox, British Columbia, for 8 days of on-the-ground Arctic survival training in one of the coldest places on Earth. Resolute Bay, Nunavut. Every year, thousands of planes pass over the Arctic to all parts of the world. If there's an incident, SAR-Techs will launch from any one of 5 Canadian search and rescue squadrons to cover the thousands of square kilometers of Arctic terrain. The students all have ideas of what the Arctic will be like, but classroom training can't prepare anyone for the reality of near 24-hour-a-day darkness, Arctic cold temperatures, and winds that freeze exposed skin in a few short minutes.
We're gonna go around to the back of the narwhal.
Corporal Robert Featherstone, a former co-pilot for a northern airline and a trainee himself, is the student leader, along with the very experienced SAR-Tech instructors.
I think I'm the only one with Arctic experience, so just basically maintaining that morale if the weather does turn bad and keeping everybody in line.
I've never been to the Arctic, but I feel with the infantry I have done a lot of outdoor stuff in some pretty cold climates. Hopefully it'll help out.
Definitely the exposure to the cold up there. It's you never know how you're going to react till you're actually in the situations.
Welcome to Resolute.
They arrive at Resolute Bay Airport bundled for the cold and braced for action. The students will stay at the Narwhal Hotel in Resolute, a tiny Arctic community with just over 200 residents. The trainees will spend the first 2 days working outside, allowing their bodies to adapt to the extreme cold. Then, they'll trek 7 kilometers to Crystal City, the SAR-Tech's training camp, where they'll spend the remainder of the course outdoors.
Keep yourselves hydrated and look after each other. You need to use your layering system. Okay?
It's critical for students to understand how fragile life can be in Arctic conditions, but still gain confidence that they, and those they rescue, can survive.
Do we need a windbreak right now to put a tent up?
Dealing with the Arctic phase, it's all about the attitude. It's being able to stay calm, positive attitude, and it can become frustrating. Everything takes a lot longer than you expect it to. Everything from putting a tent up, easy to put a tent up. When it's -70 and blowing up, not so easy to put the tent up. And you're cold and you want to get in that tent. You want to get your casualties in the tent. So you're trying to hurry. I think a good phrase would be slow is fast in the Arctic. Working slow is definitely fast.
I was in this operating environment and the winds are supposed to be prevailing northeast to southwest. We left Comox where it's +9. You come here, it's -40, whatever, with the wind chill. It's a shock to the system. So your body needs time to adapt to that rapid change of temperature and also the dry conditions, just the working environment, the tempo, all those kind of things.
Day 1, and the team starts training near the hotel, led by local Inuit subject matter experts Simon Idloud and his son Absalom. Their first challenge is to build survival trenches, or fighter trenches, quick, temporary shelters used when there are no snowdrifts available to dig into. As the snow blocks are cut and placed to the side for use in forming the roof, they're actually digging the trench they will lie in. Simon and Absalom show the trainees how to choose the best snow to cut blocks.
Put your saw all the way to the ground.
They learn to size and cut the blocks.
Cut it up about 3/4 inch.
His first cut, and what he's doing is going in about 3/4 of an inch for another cut, and that gives you that little flex factor to bring your block out.
What was he talking about with the angle?
That's another way of doing it.
Cutting snow blocks is not easy. Cut too fast and you could break your blocks. Bend the blade as you cut, and you'll break the blocks as well.
If you bent it, it broke off.
Oh, this one breaks?
Yeah, that's it. Push it straight down. Come off.
Oh.
You okay?
Okay.
Don't bend your saw.
The guys all get to practice cutting the snow blocks. Then Simon shows them how to build the fighter trench.
You don't want to make the thing too big, right? Too much heat.
Now it's the students' turn. They spread out and get to work.
Make sure you work slow enough that you're not gonna sweat. Keep a nice, easy rhythm going.
If you sweat and then you stop, respiration will freeze, temperature will drop, and you get onset of hypothermia.
Hold it. I say cutting like this.
At the bottom?
Sawing technique is truly important. Simon catches a lot of the students cutting snow like they'd cut wood.
Like this. I cut it wood like this, huh?
Snow is cut with the saw more vertical,
that's
up and down.
Oh yeah.
Really good.
Starting to warm up, it's pretty nice now.
They work hard, but there are plenty of breaks to warm up. It's a real luxury to have the hotel close by. Spending time in fighter trenches helps the students appreciate how these simple shelters can protect from the cold and be quite livable, even with only minor sources of heat. Simon checks the ventilation before sealing the door.
I'm going to lock the door for you.
The students will spend time in every shelter they build.
So I'm here inside my snow trench. The hard part I found was just getting the angles right to set up the roof. It took a little while to kind of fiddle around with it and get them sitting just right. The other difficult part was just getting the door too, and that's just cutting the pieces properly to get a good seal for the entrance.
Come on out.
The instructors let them know when it's time to go back inside the hotel.
Yeah, it was warm. Panel going, it was good.
It's the end of a long day. The SARTech trainees make their way back to the warmth of the hotel. Day 2. Time to dig snow caves. A quick, temporary shelter made by digging into a snowdrift.
Means of getting you out of the building.
Local wildlife, like the snow fox, do this for shelter as well.
Entrance, which is going to be wide enough.
The snow caves will have 3 levels to help trap the heat. The first level by the entrance is to store kit. The second level is a shelf to place your feet when sitting. The third level is rounded out as a platform to sit or sleep on.
And right where you sit, almost where your head is, poke out your knife, and that's going to be your vent hole. This is our training area. We're going to use this hole for the dome in here, find ourselves a piece of real estate, and start digging. I would actually try and get out of the wind. Over there.
If someone works up a sweat digging when it's windy, there's a greater chance of getting hypothermia.
I can believe this thing's gonna fit me.
I found some gold.
The work may be hard, but the guys have fun with it and make each of the caves their own.
Need to give mine an address.
Just about done, just a few improvements. It's my first snow candle.
It's a work in progress.
Trying the cave on for size before attempting to seal up the door shows how cozy a snow cave can be. Making it just big enough reduces the amount of space to eat.
You see there's tons of room.
Yeah, definitely. That was definitely warm in mine, man.
What's that?
This is gonna be hard.
How to close the door?
From the inside. This is gonna be extremely hard.
Corporal Deschaines does figure out how to seal the door, and all students spend time in their snow caves before heading to the hotel.
Once you're out of the wind, like right, my jacket was off, just in my t-shirt, basically, my toque was off.
A little more time consuming than yesterday's fighter trench, but a lot warmer and ultimately, I guess, a lot more comfortable.
So these guys don't have the confidence when they first get here to stay out there and freeze in these elements. And through the first couple days, they get that experience. It gives them the confidence, but they also know there's a building here. When they do get wet and cold, they can come in and warm up, and it's building them up for when they're stuck out for the 4 days in Crystal City. Tomorrow morning, we'll be departing for Crystal City from the Narwhal, and we can only hope that the winds aren't 60 kilometers an hour. Very challenging walking tonight. We only did a couple Ks, but tomorrow it should be about 7 Ks to get out to Crystal City, and they'll be carrying their own equipment to get there. Once they get there, we'll show them where they have to live for the next 4 days, and then it's all their game right there.
One person gets their toboggans, one person gets a rucksack.
In the next call-out, SAR-techs move to Crystal City to build igloos and stay outside for the rest of their Arctic training.
You guys will have exactly
Then,
5 minutes.
a rescue call comes in.
Together, right here. Are there any questions? New course, boys, go.
Call-out Search and Rescue features real stories filmed live by search and rescue teams during actual missions. Today on Callout, Rossland and Nelson Search and Rescue deal with a ski fatality in the backcountry.
At this time, it's too dangerous to go in. There's a large overhanging avalanche risk. We'll have to wait till the morning and then assess it.
And later, military search and rescue technicians, SAR-techs, show trainees how to survive and save lives in the Arctic.
All these buildings are off limit to you guys. If you need something, come and see an instructor and we'll get you what you need, okay?
Monday, 3:50 p.m. A call comes into Rossland Search and Rescue. There's been an avalanche involving 4 skiers in the remote backcountry. The team hooks up their mobile command center and heads towards Nancy Green Junction, a central point for other SAR members converging on the area, including South Columbia, Castlegar, and 2 members from Nelson Search and Rescue. Dave Braithwaite, an avalanche technician, finishing carpenter, and longtime Rossland SAR member, was one of the search managers on the call.
Radio check.
In this avalanche, there'd been a fatality and other people involved, so our response was to be fairly major. It was a big area and a long way out, so we've got a number of snowmobilers and a number of skiers prepared to go and access the area.
The avalanche has occurred in the Mount Mackey area, an outdoor adventurer's playground in the West Kootenay region, just north of the U.S. border. Backcountry skiers often use snowmobiles to find fresh powder on their own terms. But the danger of avalanches lies just beneath the snow on the steep mountain slopes. When it struck, one skier was buried and carried down to the base of a glade of trees. Big Red Cats Limited, a well-known local cat ski company that provides guided backcountry ski trips and was not involved in the incident, receives a call from one of the surviving skiers.
They said that one of the group had been caught in an avalanche and they thought he was dead, but only one of them had seen them. So I then jumped on a sled, drove to the top of that mountain, put on my headlamp because it was then getting dark, skied down and found the subject and confirmed that, that he was deceased. At this time, it's too dangerous to go in. There's a large overhanging avalanche risk. We'll have to wait till the morning and then assess it.
Night falls. Inside the mobile command center, the teams are evaluating the best strategy to recover the deceased skier. Knowing that the other skiers involved in the incident are safe and out of the area, one of the first priorities is to block public access to the avalanche location.
Lots of people, for some reason, would find their way to get pictures or find out what's going on. They would access some road. I can get in from here, and off they would go, and there could be more danger there with more avalanches, and also the fact that we just don't want anyone to go in there. The RCMP'd like to be the first people on the scene.
As teams settle in for the night in their trucks, blocking off roads leading into the avalanche area, another rescue call comes in.
We have also now been informed of another missing snowmobiler in the mountain, Murphy Creek area, and we are sending some crews on the road on snowmobiles to search for this person.
This is our second time people going out to search that.
We found a vehicle, the RCMP checked the plates on it, confirmed this was the right one, so we had a starting point from where this fellow left from.
Chris Armstrong of Nelson Search and Rescue makes his way to the second search location.
Quite a large team of sliders have come out to this one area called Murphy Creek outside of Roslyn to set up for the second search.
But it's over before it starts.
There's been a stand down here for the second search.
The subject had reported in safe at home. Back at the SAR base, preparations for tomorrow's recovery are well underway when yet another rescue call comes in. A lone vehicle belonging to 3 skiers is spotted on the side of the road near Red Mountain Ski Resort. They're overdue, and with one avalanche fatality occurring already today, Roslyn SAR aren't taking any chances.
So we're just making arrangements now to check the vehicle and check the area where these individuals were last seen, and pretty much start up a third search. So very busy night in Roslyn.
It's a big area, but Dave Braithwaite knows it well.
That's as far as it would be. There's nothing past that for someone hiking in. That's the farthest likely point someone would hike up into the basin.
Yeah, why don't you come with me?
RCMP Corporal Gord Sims and Dave Braithwaite are on the road to check out the lone vehicle when some good news comes in.
Just heard back from our complainant on their overdue skiers. The skiers are all safe and sound. Just got back to their vehicle and will be heading down the mountain now.
Copy, great, thanks.
When we get news that someone has made it home, it's a great relief to all of us, and we consider that a successful call out. We were there and ready to help them if they were in need. Even at that, it's a great thing, and we all go, yeah, good call out, we made it, and everyone's safe.
It's back to base again, and time to turn in.
So we're back to square one with the recovery tomorrow morning. It looks like we're going to shut down for the evening, so we'll be back in the morning.
After a busy night, the SAR teams return to the base at Nancy Green Junction to begin recovery of the deceased skier caught in yesterday's avalanche on Mount Mackey.
We have a helicopter flying in from Castlegar. It's our rescue pilot with Nelson. We'll do a recce flight this morning with Avitex to secure the site. Shouldn't take too long. We should be done by about 10 o'clock and get on home to our families.
Kieran Gall of Big Red Cats continues to assist the team and will fly in with another Level 2 avalanche tech to survey the site. Above the accident site is another steep slope with unstable snow that could give way and come down on the recovery team as they evacuate the subject. Prior to going in by ground, Kieran is hoping that technicians will be able to airdrop explosives and release any remaining avalanche threat. Unfortunately, it's overcast, and they can't get in for a good look. They decide to proceed by ground. After some last-minute pointers from Kieran, they leave by snowmobile and snowcat. As the excavation team gets underway, the HETs and ground support teams move their operation closer to the recovery site. The shorter the flight, the safer it'll be for the HETs crew.
We found an active logging site with a good-sized landing only 2 kilometers from the actual scene. We're going to use this point as a staging area for flying a long line attendant into the area. Right now behind me, the Kootenay Heli Rescue is just rigging up the helicopter.
At the accident site, Kieran Gall clears a path to remove the buried skier. The path will also serve as an escape route should an avalanche let go. He's posted a lookout above the 2 slopes to one side and sent the rest of the team away. It's too dangerous. Kieran digs steadily to recover the subject, but is ready to take flight at the slightest warning from above. At the landing zone, the HET's hookups are double-checked. The team is ready to go.
We have a portable stretcher inside of our evacuation device, which is called an ARP. We're going to long line over this ridge right there, loop around, come back. We have a subject at the base of a slide, and we're going to bring him back to this site, reload him back into the machine, and take him down to our SAR base down by the highway.
The helicopter takes flight to meet the recovery team.
We're getting pretty cold. It's been a long day. It's taken quite some time to package the subject, and it's quite a steep terrain, a bit unruly. So we're just waiting right now for the long line team. They've managed to get everything safely done. It's packaged, and they're inbound right now.
The helicopter returns. The HETS unit is lowered to the ground. They will transfer the subject into the aircraft for the journey to the coroner and onward to his awaiting family. Search and rescue prefer a happy outcome. Maybe a close call. Another chance. Sadly, that's not always the case.
We had a real busy 24 hours. We had over 50 people out in that time, some overnight. We managed to have 2 subjects come back safely to their families, and 1 subject was a fatality. It's always tough, but all we can do really is promote good, safe backcountry practices and be there for those people who get out there and are in need.
Now, Canadian search and rescue technicians show trainees how to survive in the Arctic.
Oh, this is very lucky that there's no wind. Super lucky.
If someone needs rescue in Canada's vast wilderness, Canadian Forces search and rescue technicians, SARTECs, go in when no one else will.
There's instructors waiting to take you, so speed up.
These 13 SARTEC trainees from CFB Comox, British Columbia, are now in the 3rd day of an 8-day on-the-ground Arctic training phase at Resolute Bay, Nunavut, one of the coldest places on Earth. They've learned to build fighter trenches and snow caves, and have spent time in these temporary shelters, but always had the comfort of the nearby Narwhal Hotel at night.
I want someone to take command of this group.
Day 3, and the team starts preparing for a 7-kilometer trek to their SARTEC training camp, Crystal City. There, they'll build igloos and live outside.
So this is it. This is pretty much the last time you're going to see civilization. So now we're going to move into like survival aspect. Just like Corporal Schmidt, you're going to be the navigator.
The team will navigate to Crystal City using maps, GPS, and compass.
Halfway through the distance, we'll come across our
Navigation with compass is more complex in the Arctic because of the closeness to magnetic north. 90 minutes into the trek towards Crystal City, the team stops to take a bearing. Suddenly, the march turns into a mission. There are 273 passengers on a downed aircraft, and they are the only ones available for rescue operations. Coordinates show that the plane is 1.2 kilometers away. They're close. Corporal Wallace briefs them.
Just keep your head on a swivel for anything that you guys see. Pass up the chain and we'll go through Swanee, okay? So we're just looking for the last known location of the airplane.
We painted a scenario of a plane crash just to give them a sense of urgency to get here. Once we got about 500 meters from here, we said, okay, there obviously is no plane crash. Training's over. Now we want you guys to think about survival mode.
All these buildings are off limit to you guys. If you need something...
Reaching Crystal City, it's go time.
Okay?
Now for the challenge they really came here for. Learning to survive and save lives in the Arctic. They must rely on each other and their equipment to keep them safe.
On the sites, you guys are going to live in your SAR tents tonight. So all the theory you guys got, you're going to apply here, okay? That means everything. Look after each other for frostbite, work smartly, and do all that stuff, okay?
The Arctic can be very dangerous. Training is done in a controlled survival environment. Guide ropes run from the detachment buildings to the area where they're building camp. If whiteout snow conditions occur, they can be reached. The camp is also roped in.
These guys are stacking it for the outer rim. So we're going to put our tent right in the square here. Have a nice wall going around it.
The students construct wind walls to protect the tents they'll be sleeping in from the blowing snow. Local Inuit subject matter experts Simon Idloud and his son Absalom are there to make sure lessons learned at the Resolute Base Camp, cutting and shaping snow blocks, are not forgotten. The instructors let the students plan and build their own, but step in where needed.
Now's the time I'd be cutting blocks, stacking them off to the side to use for later, get the tent up so I could get a cook in there and get some water on. And if I need to get someone out of the elements, I can move them into a shelter right now and save that guy's life and look after myself and my team member.
The teams reconsider their plan. An important part of Arctic survival is to think in the now.
Right now it's good to do this. There's no wind, then let's get the tent up. Okay, the wind's coming, we can feel things pick up. Okay, everyone outside, let's get that wind wall done now. So you have to keep changing your priorities as it goes.
They divide the duties, with a priority to get snow and ice melted into water so they can stay hydrated.
You get more water out of ice than you do out of snow.
Oh, this is very lucky that there's no wind. Super lucky.
They're busy working on the walls, but it's not how the Inuit would do it.
Never saw something like this before. Well, here's to hoping it holds up.
The wind walls that they've constructed here probably aren't the best because they're square. If you think about the wind hitting a square wall, it's like a sail. The Inuit would build igloos square if that was the case, right? They build them round for a reason so that the wind goes around them and they can sustain the winds.
The students must chink the gaps between the blocks with snow, just like mortar between bricks. The snow will harden and hold strong.
What he's doing? Teach us how to do it right. I don't know.
Okay, let's go for a walk, man.
Gonna go for a walk, warm the toes up?
You still have to go a couple times, like go for a walk and stuff to get the blood going, otherwise you freeze.
We just want to go to sleep.
With tents up and wind walls built, the students concentrate on cooking and spending their first night outside in the Arctic. Sometimes, just trying to light a stove in the Arctic can be a learning experience.
Smell the fuel. Well, right now we're burning the excess gas that I put.
All that gas is?
That's what we're burning.
That was going on right
That's
there.
what we're burning right now.
It's all part of the plan, right?
Yeah.
Day 4. The trainee SAR techs have spent their first night outside in the Arctic.
One problem we ran into, had the heat pretty hot in our tent, so at night when we turned it down, and just with our breathing and cold air mixing with the hot, our clothes got a little condensation on it.
A little condensation can mean frozen clothes in the morning.
It wasn't very nice getting up, getting into the cold air was pretty crappy, but wasn't too bad.
Something like that, when you've learned a lesson in a cold, extreme environment like this, I guarantee you won't make that mistake the next time.
Oh, one point I wanted to ask about yesterday with snow walls. Did Simon talk to you guys about chinking?
A new day and a new task. They're learning to build igloos, where they'll spend the night when done.
You take snow, dice it up with your snow knife, and you chink it. You fill in the gap so no air comes seeping through.
Igloos are built using snow blocks, which must be angled correctly to form a dome. Students will need all their newly learned snow block cutting, shaping, and chinking techniques to make this task a success. They'll construct the igloos side by side. With guidance from Simon and the instructors, the igloos get well underway.
So it's going to sit, that flat surface is going to sit on that flat surface. Next thing
It's not easy shaping and angling igloo blocks.
You cut this one in a V. So when this one, no, not this way, the other way. It's a V. No, but the other way.
It's their first attempt, but once they have the basics down like that, it's just like drywalling. And drywalling with more practice, you get better at it.
You didn't do anything with this angle on this block. You did it on this one, but you didn't do it on this one. If you would have, it would sit.
They take breaks in the tents to warm up.
Yeah, it's tricky.
Especially when Simon comes over and helps you for an hour.
Yeah, that's handy.
When Simon comes over, gives you a hand, pointers on how to do things, and he does a lot of the work for you too.
You know, just the small things like the gaps and vertical cracks. Those are the big things, because you want that thing sturdy enough that it's not going to collapse through the night. And you want it thick enough that it's not going to melt eventually. They're not getting any insulation value.
Day 6. The igloos are done.
Today we're moving from our SAR tent to our igloos.
They're not digging in the snow anymore, so the cold starts to affect them more. They need to stay aware of the conditions and look after members of their team who aren't doing so well. Instructor John Elms keeps a sharp eye out for polar bears and for any signs of hypothermia. Either can be deadly.
So his feet are pretty cold, right? Yeah. So now's the time. Maybe you could get him in, get boots off.
Come on in here, Coco.
He might be looking after you tomorrow.
Yeah. Unwrap your sleeping bag.
What?
Unwrap your sleeping bag.
I was gonna change my socks.
There you go. That's thinking right there.
When things get critical, the students need a reminder to think about the basics of Arctic survival and to focus on their work.
You can get him in there, look after him. The other guy who's good to go, get the stove on, get the water going, prioritize your work, divvy it up, and get her done. Okay? Right now they're hitting a bit of a wall, so they're learning to work through that wall. Once they get themselves organized, like by tomorrow, they'll pass that wall and they'll be good to go. But this is one of those times.
Minus 50 today. Minus 50. Oh, we're so cold.
It's break time, and the guys are really starting to feel the cold.
Now I know the cold's getting to you guys. I'm having a hard time every day as the day goes on. I don't know why it's so cold on the feet. The rest of the body, the hands is fine, it's just the feet. It's getting colder and colder as we go.
Some of the students warm up inside the igloos.
No lantern in the igloo, just kudlik and candles, okay?
Kudliks are like a soft candle. They are often made from blubber and used by the Inuit to light and heat tents or igloos.
Sure is toasty.
How is everybody? You guys seeing a little bit of difference, a little bit of changes?
6 days into their 8-day Arctic training phase, the SARTEC students have learned to build wind walls, single-person snow caves, and igloos, and are now living outside 24 hours a day.
Anything, we're up in the ante with the weather.
In the next call-out, they build multi-person snow caves and are called out to rescue a missing hunter. Call-Out Search and Rescue features real stories filmed live by search and rescue teams during actual missions. Today on Call Out, Nelson Search and Rescue rings in the new year with 3 back-to-back missions.
Very often we get called out on New Year's Eve, and again, voila, 10:20 on New Year's Eve, and we're going out.
And later, Canadian SARTEC students on a training exercise in the Arctic have fun breaking up their igloos, but regret it later.
Any small mistake, we
keep telling them it costs them their lives.
Tuesday, 9 p.m. Nelson Search and Rescue receives a call out for an overdue snowboarder. Eli Bergevin, a local electrician and young father of 2, was last seen riding on his own at noon at the Whitewater Winter Resort. Expected home at 4:30, he was reported overdue by his family.
It really was not a good picture. It had snowed a lot. It was continuing to snow very heavily. It was very cold out. It was very socked in, so the visibility was not good at all.
The subject is not prepared to be out overnight and does not have an avalanche beacon.
One of our biggest concerns is the avalanche danger. Because of safety factors, we couldn't send the teams out into the field. There was too many hazards and risks that could not be properly assessed until daylight. So we did what we call an attractant.
They opt for a sound sweep. A SAR vehicle will drive the road leading to Whitewater Winter Resort, periodically stopping to blare their sirens and call out.
Eli, search and rescue. Yell out if you can hear us.
The team hears a sound.
Yeah, I heard something.
They get out for a listen.
I thought I heard something. Yeah.
Avalanche danger might await in the woods, but if the lost snowboarder is nearby, it's time to change the plan.
Yell out if you can hear us.
Nope. Whatever sound they heard before has stopped.
I thought we heard something there.
It's getting late, and there's not much more they can do tonight.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the SAR vehicle with the lights and that should carry on down and you guys come up top.
Search manager Cindy Jones sends most of the team home.
Insert you out.
A 2-person crew continues to travel back and forth along the road, a moving beacon of hope for the lost snowboarder. Cindy Jones goes home too, but she's got work ahead of her yet.
Setting up our team members that are going to respond, finding a helicopter and an avalanche professional to go up in that helicopter, and organizing all the other resources that are going to be required for the day. It's the SAR manager tomorrow. It's a long time before I get to go to sleep, if I really get to rest at all.
This is Nelson Search and Rescue. Can you hear us?
Back on the mountain, the night crew continues their sound sweep.
Hey Sam, we got him. There he is. Hey.
At 2 a.m., Eli is spotted on the road walking towards them.
Eli?
It's a happy outcome and a familiar story. He'd started his last run of the day as the sun was setting.
The fog came in on me and I lost my bearings, I lost my reference points. It got dark and I just holed up, I made a snow cave.
The clouds lifted and Eli spotted the flashing lights of the SAR vehicle.
I just started hiking through the flats until I got to the road here and I could see light from the search and rescue vehicle, and so I'm super thankful.
The morning search won't be necessary, but less than 24 hours later, the team is called out again.
The other people that are going to be doing the checkpoint are not on.
Wednesday, 10 p.m. 2 backcountry skiers from Alberta, Dawn Atto and Cindy Lawrence, are reported overdue by family.
This is their vehicle right here.
Luckily, the pair had signed in at the Whitewater Winter Resort before embarking on their backcountry adventure.
They had filled out their registry, letting us know where their destination was, their trip destination, as well as the estimated time of return. So Nelson Search and Rescue could have a starting point as to where to go search.
The skiers' route was through the Hummingbird Pass near the Whitewater Winter Resort. By now, they could be going in any direction, hopefully towards the road below.
There's quite a lot of avalanche danger. We've got 10 Cs that have fallen today. We're not going to send crews into that area until morning, so we've brought our SAR truck up here. We've had 2 members who are going to stay here for the entire night with the lights going, making lots of noise with a siren. Even with this weather, if they can see the lights or hear the sound, they have something to come to.
At this point, we're leaving from here, so everyone get all their...
It's 10 a.m., New Year's Eve, day 2 of the search, Whitewater. Still 2 missing skiers in the backcountry, an area known as Whale's Back, Hummingbird Pass.
SAR base, go ahead.
10 centimeters of snow has fallen. It's time to ramp up the search. ground crews get geared up.
We've got a low cloud cover. It's kind of obscuring the peaks and the ridge lines, so a bit of issue there getting the helicopter deposit teams. Looks like it'll be ground pounding all day long and get people out there, saturate the area, see if we can pick up a trail or find them.
A search helicopter with AvTechs is already combing the backcountry and assessing avalanche conditions.
Now, yes, have them move to East Peak for better comms. Team Bravo, Star Base. Go ahead for Bravo.
The recent snowfall should make it easy to spot fresh tracks. And indeed, they do.
Another set of tracks actually that joined up, so they actually came out of it.
Stand by, you're quite close to the track that the helicopter spotted, and
Ground crews are directed to the area to meet up with the subjects.
Team Hotel to Team there they are, right there.
The helicopter crew spots the rescue team and subjects walking out through the trees, but has no place to land.
No way this machine will fit now. Hotel, another one behind it.
Luckily, the subjects are in good health and able to walk out under the guidance of the ground crew.
Copy that. This is Team Alpha proceeding to the top of Hummingbird Pass.
So it's about 1 o'clock. The team has brought them back up to the pass. We had a snowcat go up and pick them up, and they've just arrived here at base.
I'm Cindy.
Hugs are shared, introductions made, and thanks given. The rescued skiers are checked out by BC Ambulance, and then debriefed.
We did find out it was good that you did sign in.
Don and Cindy were fairly well equipped, but new at backcountry trekking. They simply took a wrong turn, lost their bearings, and couldn't find their way out.
You guys ended up climbing back up this ridge as well.
Enjoy the rest of your trip.
Thanks. You guys are great.
Happy New Year.
The team goes home, but not for long. 10:20 p.m. A skier is reported overdue, yet again at the Whitewater Winter Resort. Identified only as Alex, he was reported missing by a casual acquaintance and last seen on a Black Diamond run. A lone vehicle with U.S. license plates has been left in the ski parking lot. The out-of-country plates could not be run until morning.
Very often we get called out on New Year's Eve, and again, voila, 10:20 on New Year's Eve, we're going out.
Everybody got whistles?
A good-sized crew musters and gears up.
Let's get it done.
The plan is to catch a lift up the mountain with the groomer cats.
So we're loading up here in the cats to take us up to the top of Whitewater. It's a full moon tonight. Snowing quite a bit here, but it's actually really quite bright, so our visibility is going to be pretty good.
It's exactly 2010.
Oh, yeah.
You too, man.
Well, that's pretty fast response. I think the RCMP were only up here about an hour before you guys showed up.
We knew we'd be going out again tonight. It's just, it always happens. Thanks a lot, dude.
Yeah, no worries. Just poke into the trees a little bit, stop, talk, listen, and jump out.
The team goes over the search plan.
Call Alex on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Alex!
We're in a very safe zone for avalanches or anything like that, so we've got our beacons actually on receive, so if he's in a tree well or somewhere off the side, we can pick up his tone as we're going through.
The crew does 2 passes down the mountain with no results. Then, call it a night.
It's 1 o'clock in the morning, January 2010. We've completed our sound search, had no luck locating the subject. Due diligence has been served. We've done the best we can in the conditions we had, so pack it up, go home, get some sleep. It's been a long couple of days.
It turns out the lost skier had simply left his car overnight in the ski parking lot without informing anyone. Unfortunately, this happens, but the team still goes out. Why?
This time, it was just a car in the parking lot. But in the past, it's turned out to be something much more serious. We'd rather just go have a look, because if we don't, we'll probably spend the whole night worrying about it anyway.
Now, Canadian SAR-Tech trainees go on their first rescue mission in the high Arctic.
There's been an Inuit seal hunter that's been missing for a day and a half.
If someone needs rescue in Canada's vast wilderness, Canadian Forces Search and Rescue Technicians, SAR-techs, go in when no one else will. These 13 SAR-tech trainees from CFB Comox, British Columbia, are doing an 8-day, on-the-ground Arctic training phase near Resolute Bay, Nunavut, one of the coldest places on Earth. They're here to learn how to survive and save lives in the Arctic. The students spent the first 2 days building fighter trenches and single-person snow caves, staying at the Narwhal Hotel while getting acclimatized to the severe Arctic cold. Then, they trekked 7 kilometers to Crystal City, a SAR-tech training camp where they've stayed outside 24 hours a day for the past 4 days. They're now living in igloos, constructed under the guidance of Inuit subject matter experts Simon Idlout and his son Absalom. Day 7. One student is now in the hospital with frostbite. The rest of the trainees are on a short trek from their igloo camp, tasked with building multi-person snow caves. A multi-person snow cave is essentially a larger version of the single-person model. It has 3 levels to help trap the heat. The 3rd level is simply made larger to accommodate more than one person for sitting or sleeping.
Start digging. Very, very important today, guys, about your layering system. You're going to get very warm, very quick, okay? So be wary about that.
They try not to work up a sweat, as it will freeze and increase the risk of hypothermia.
When I was a kid, I would say this would be fun. It's hard work.
Like, you can clearly see there's tons of room.
Yeah, definitely. Fit 2 guys in that one.
Yeah, man.
And then, you know, be pretty warm for the night. I mean, that's really decent.
The team puts in a full day building the shelters, then return to Crystal City to spend another cold night in their igloos.
Once the door's all chinked up and stuff, it gets pretty warm in there, but once all the heating sources are turned off, it cools off pretty ck. So.
Oddly enough, yeah, I am loving it. The other students think I'm a little messed up for it. I was looking forward to this phase a lot.
It's morning, day 8. Believing they'll spend tonight, their last night, in the comfort of the Narwhal Hotel in Resolute Bay, they stop thinking about survival and blow off some steam by destroying their igloos. It's a move they'll regret later. However, the fun and games stop immediately when a rescue mission comes up.
There's been an Inuit seal hunter that's been missing for a day and a half. So the RCMP contacted his wife, and she's given him 2 known locations where he may be at. You guys are tasked to go check out these 2 locations.
They ask the questions that will help them devise the best plan to find the missing hunter.
Yes, he does. He's got a history of high blood pressure.
And since when? So you've been day and a half.
They're divided into 2 teams, Alpha and Bravo, and tasked to go to separate locations.
Pick up your packs, move over there. Go.
It's a simulated exercise, but the instructors keep them under the gun. They sort out the necessary resources to take with them.
Yes, yes. Lantern,
The kit
yes.
request is checked over.
Med kit, yes. AP day night, negative. SAR tent, no. You guys will have exactly 5 minutes to get that kit together right here. Are there any questions? 2 pots, 2 pans.
The teams plot their direction based on the location coordinates where the hunter was last seen, then trek through the Arctic snow in search of the missing subject.
Weather has come in, damn near 0 visibility.
In this scenario, it's supposed to be 0 visibility. The priority is to stabilize the patient and shelter him from the elements. Alpha team looks after the casualty. Bravo team digs snow caves for the needed shelter. All their Arctic training is coming into play now. It may be a simulation, but the students take their tasks seriously.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Any change in how you feel right now? Woozy? Okay. Yeah. How's the pain right now?
The shelter is almost ready. Time to move the patient. Corporal Rasmussen, a medical technician before remastering as a SAR tech, is assigned to stay watch on the casualty while the rest dig in to complete the shelters. They now have a spot to keep the patient out of the wind. The instructors inform the rescue team that the weather has cleared enough for them to leave the shelters and get the patient back to the igloo camp at Crystal City. On returning to camp, the news is delivered. They must spend another 18 hours with no extra supplies in the igloos they destroyed.
A shelter here is your lifeline, and to make assumptions, especially in the Arctic, any small mistake, we keep telling them, could cost them their lives.
We anticipated our departure from Crystal City, and we wanted to get some pictures on top of the igloos, and we fell through the tops of our igloos, and we kind of carried on with the melee. We got into a little bit of heat for that. We get what we deserve.
It's go time again, and they're going to have a life lesson from this.
The students look after each other, share their food, and work out a plan for spending the night.
If you fix your igloo, right? You fit 3 in there. You fit 4 guys in there, 4 guys in here, 4 guys in there.
You sort of learn just from mistakes while you're here, and what you do at night, where you put your gloves in what layer of your sleeping bag, and whatever. So the first night I didn't put anything away to keep it nice and dry, but you ended up getting full of condensation. So little things like that you pick up on. Definitely more prepared than when I got here. And tonight will be the best night of them all.
Yeah. That's the
rescue.
Rescue for the SARTEC students means being allowed to trek back to Resolute for a warm night at the Narwhal Hotel. But that's up to the instructors.
There's 4. There's 4 in there.
Sergeant McGrath comes around to see how the trainees have handled the latest curve thrown their way. The students' organization pays off.
In 15 minutes, I want every piece of kit and toboggan, every one of you behind that garage. And if you're not there in 15, we're going to change the complexion again. This is your chance. 15 minutes. Starting now.
15 minutes, everything up.
A bit of hustle now to pack up their gear on time, and they won't have to spend another night in their igloos. They'll go back to the Narwhal Hotel after 6 days of living and working outside in severe Arctic conditions.
Okay, listen up. Right now, what I want to do is I want to debrief the exercise that we did this morning. That's where we're going to start. Saw some good things happen in that exercise. A couple things we're going to touch on, though. Never assume anything.
They're chewed out for breaking up their igloos. There's a valuable lesson to be learned about focusing on survival at all times.
If you factor in the worst, absolute worst situation that could ever happen to you, like a whiteout came when we were walking down that creek bed or that river bed, and that's all the shelter you had, if you factor that in, you wouldn't have been tap dancing on your igloos. Factor in the worst case scenario. That's what we do in our job, all the time. And then we switch on the fly. That is what we do. We go in because nobody else goes. Okay? We are the last resource. So stick that in your cabbages for the rest of your training. Dig deep. Back to the exercise.
The students begin their final trek, this time back to Resolute in preparation for the trip home.
We're going to stop at the communications tower. That's our checkpoint. We're going to do a 5-minute halt there.
Post 43!
Rescue!
The Arctic is exactly what I thought it would be. It's a beautiful spot. It's a relentless and ruthless spot. It can be. If you're cold, there's no way to get warm unless you have the training to do it. And that is what we came here to get, is to figure out how to survive in this environment. And I got a lot of experience from it.
The Arctic training phase is complete. These students are now one step closer to becoming fully certified Canadian Forces search and rescue technicians. The next time they see the Arctic, it could very well be to parachute out of a Hercules and onto the ice in the dark to save lives. Callout Search and Rescue features real stories filmed live by search and rescue teams during actual missions.